Gotta take it off mute. Sorry about that. Back again with another Vault episode. I was in the middle of reorganizing my office, studio, whatever you want to call it. And Quester said, I'm free if you want to go live. So, of course, I had to jump on the opportunity and schedule it. Let me bring him on right now. Hey, Quester.
Hi, Amy.
Hey. So we've been, first of all, let me just say, welcome to Case by Case. Vault episode, I believe, 47. I've lost track at this point. Welcome to everybody in chat. Osbrook, you have a wrench. You've always had a wrench. So yeah, today I've been cleaning house and reorganizing, and I'm planning on redesigning this room. So this is why my hair's in a messy bun. I have a tank top on. I look a mess, but whatever, it's fine. We'll go from here. Quester, what have you been doing today?
Not a lot.
Really, not a lot.
Yeah.
Except
exactly that. Not a lot.
Not a lot. Well, I beg to differ because you just sent some really fantastic images over to me. Sign sealing and delivering the images that I've been focusing on from the BG video behind Abby, and you pretty much broke it down and showed us what we're looking at, and it's fantastic. And I've posted it everywhere. So you've been more than up to not a lot, to say the least.
It's not that much. Just a few pictures, that's all.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. So as you guys know in the chat, we've been bartering back and forth with the guilters in this case, and we've been discussing things that we feel are relevant, that anybody who thinks that Rick Allen is guilty, they don't want to hear about it at all. However, these are things that can't be ignored. And within the BG video, I mean, when you dumb it down and you zoom in on certain aspects of the video, and the video is very important because law enforcement, for whatever reason, withheld the video from the public for 5.5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I'm not even sure at this point how many years, but it was years that the BG video was withheld from us. And we were made to believe that this video was so shocking and so graphic and so horrific that it could not be released. And then when the video came out, I don't know about for the rest of you, and Quester, as I'm speaking, I want you to think of your opinion on this. When the video came out, I was super like hypervigilance focused on the video, like trying to absorb every detail. And I will be the first to admit that when the B video was released, because I had been told
You're frozen. You're frozen, Amy.
Quester, did I just cut out?
You froze.
Okay,
yeah.
So sorry. Yeah, I got the whole window circling thing. Sorry. But I'll be the first to admit that when the BG video was first released by Andrew Baldwin, that I was preconditioned to hear what law enforcement told me I was going to hear. So the very first day that the BG video came out, and streets of Bakersfield can attest to this, I called her and I was like, oh my fucking God, did she say that be a gun? Because that's what my ears were trained to hear, because law enforcement said so. Law enforcement took the stand and told the jury at trial that that's what they were going to hear. And her and I conversed about it, and we listened and re-listened and re-listened, and we were like, wait a minute, that's not what we hear in the BG video. Libby is actually saying, this is the path that we go down, not this is the path that be a gun. So the BG video is not what we anticipated, in my opinion. Quester, what's your opinion of the BG video? I mean, do you think that the BG video was as excruciating to watch as law enforcement attempted to portray? That this was, I mean, don't get me wrong, this is actually the last real images of these two little girls. But the circumstances of this video, do they convey to you, if you didn't know the case history, if you didn't know the background of the case, watching the video, would you watch the video and absolutely go, holy crap, these two girls are being marched down the hill to their death? And whether you agree with that or you don't, that's what happened, number one. But number two, did the two girls convey that sentiment on the video? Or did they feel that they weren't being accompanied by someone that they knew? That's the difference. So, Quester, what is your opinion about the BG video and the impression that when you first watched it, what you thought of it?
Well, to be blunt, when I first watched it, I thought, this stinks higher than a 7-day-old Japanese fish dish. One of the reasons I immediately thought that was, if you watch it when Abby is walking on the bridge, watch her face. She's talking. But there's nothing on the recording. Okay, you can say maybe the camera was too far away to pick it up. Well, if that's true, how did it pick up BG talking when he was the same distance away? There's a lot that have been shown.
So when you listen to the video, do you think that Libby is actually talking to Abby?
No.
Or
initially, no. I think she's talking to somebody who is beside her. Her voice is too soft to have been talking to Abby at that distance.
So do you think that? So you think there's somebody beside her, and the sniffling, and which I agree, there's sniffling, and and here's the great thing about the video is, if we had an expert who could dissect the soundtrack of the video, a real expert, is the sniffling overlapping Libby's words, as in there is a secondary person walking alongside Libby as she's talking, because it appears, or it sounds like, she's explaining to someone their intention.
Yeah.
See,
well, if she was too far away from talking to Abby, therefore she was either talking to someone else or talking to herself.
Right.
And
Except,
I don't believe she'd be telling herself that there's no path down the way that she's staring straight at.
not only that, but she felt the need to kind of repeat herself when she says, "There's no path to go down here," and then you hear the. So she could have been, and I think this just dawned on me in this moment. She's describing this. There's no path here. We have to go down here, and then Abby brushes past her and she explains again the information that she's trying to convey to Abby, as because she knew that it wasn't directed at Abby and Abby didn't know what was transpiring with the conversation that Libby was having. Either way, the video to me, as a mother, as a parent, I gather a sense of anxiety, but I also gather full acknowledgement of a plan. They knew once they reached the south end of the bridge what their intentions were, and what those intentions were, I do not know. I do know that both girls knew where they were, knew all of the people that lived within the vicinity. Libby knew the Webbers. Abby lived a short distance up the road. And if they were in danger and they thought that the person, let's hypothetically say that bridge guy behind Abby, prior to the 213 video starting, had already given them some sort of random instructions or directive. And they felt in fear of their life. They had an absolute out. So to believe that the video was being taken as Libby feeling, like, I need to capture this because this guy's bad news. Well, you know what? I think that Libby was smart enough to have also dialed 911 prior to shooting a video. But let's go with the 14-year-old mind. And the video can be taken one or two ways. One, it was, did she actually know that her video camera was on? Or was she intentionally videotaping the situation discreetly? I think it's a 50-50 scenario. But if the girls were afraid, at the last moment, the last 10, 15 seconds of the video, when Abby comes off the bridge, she's kind of like jogging, like, thank God I'm off of there. She runs past Libby, and then she turns around and she comes back. If Abby felt that she was in danger by the person behind her, would she have not kept going? Like, Libby, you know what's up. This dude is suspicious. We got to get out of here. To me,
At that point, if they felt threatened, they'd have had it away on their toes down that path.
Say that again.
There was no gun or anything pointing at that point. He hadn't even said the down the hill stuff. So they'd have had it away, wouldn't they? They'd been straight off, both of them running down that path. If they were worried.
That exactly. And to me, if you're keeping if you're keeping critical thinking up front and foremost, the one thing that the impression that I get from the BG video is that when Abby runs past Libby, and she turns around and she comes back, is it because there was somebody else approaching? or she realized there were other bad actors in the area. And because to me, when she runs past Libby could have followed. They could have taken off and either gone in different directions, or they could have ran to Brad Weber's house. They could have continued forward and found their way to the next closest residence in the area. Libby knew the area. Abby knew the area. Abby had grown up there. They knew where they were. But when you listen to the video and you watch it, it's like Abby runs, and then there's like this hesitance, and she turns around and comes back. And to me, what I hear in the video is a little girl who realizes, okay, we're trapped. She bends over, she puts her hands on her knees, and she's breathing, and she's stuck in the moment. That's kind of how I feel. I can't prove it, but when I watch the BG video, that's kind of the impression that I get, that their route of escape was cut off. I could be wrong. I could be full of shit. I'll accept that. But that is an impression that I get watching the BG video. But keep in mind, listening to the BG video, you hear the bridge guy say, guys, down the hill. And you see in the video, but you see Abby immediately take that approach to go down the hill. So when the camera turned off, we don't know what transpired. And the first and foremost thing that we have to take into consideration is when that camera turned off, what did the bridge guy do? Did he say, wait a minute. I just threatened you with a gun, racked it, and kicked out a bullet. Give me a minute to find my unspent round. Is that something that seems plausible watching the BG video? Because the state can't have it both ways.
And the other thing is, while he's getting them to strip, did he say, look, girls, would you mind taking all your clothes off, but hang on to those phones that I don't know you've got, because I want you later to put them under one of your bodies? Don't think so.
And if both girls had a phone, I mean, we have this Apple Health data that's very hard to articulate and very hard to track. The majority of guilters, and I don't believe the state ever gave a scenario of, okay, so the girls were forced down the hill, then they were forced to undress, and then they were forced to cross the creek. The defense never gave that scenario. We have just been led to believe that that's what transpired. And in what realistic movie do two naked girls cross a creek, and I'm visualizing clothes being held above their head, and within the bundle of clothes, you've got a cell phone or two, which I believe there were two. And there are people on the bridge who see nothing, hear nothing. And if the girls were nude crossing that creek, I'm telling you right now, both girls' feet would be nasty. The sludge, the algae, the mud, the rocks, the girls' feet would be completely destroyed if they cross the creek nude. Yet we have a crime scene where Abby's shoes, if you believe the state's narrative and you believe that they were forced to cross the creek nude, Abby's shoes are replaced on her feet, and Libby's feet are completely clean. And her shoes are left here, there, and everywhere in the creek, on the creek bed. One shoe is under Abby with the phone being hidden, which is extremely important because if you listen to all of the interviews that Kelsey German did, we are left believing that there was a shoe found right below the private drive on the opposite side of the creek from where the girls were found. If you're to believe Kelsey, and I'm sick and tired in this case of the state's narrative being piecemealed and taken apart. Well, you can believe this, but you can't believe that. We are going to support this narrative, but we're not going to support that one. When the conversation is fluid, prime example, Betsy Blair sees the young bridge guy standing at the barrier, looking out. She claims over 50 feet, sees the young guy with the brown poofy hair. She does her third loop. The state completely embraces that narrative. In fact, they hold a press conference in 2022 and release Betsy Blair's sketch, the young bridge guy sketch. And they tell us that the first sketch, the old bridge guy sketch, is now secondary. However, the rest of Betsy Blair's statements are bullshit. They're not going to question her on that. And in fact, at trial, Judge Gall keeps Betsy Blair under subpoena and requires the defense team to recall her and ask her about what she saw when she left the trails and what type of vehicle was parked at the Hoosier Harvest Store building. Yeah, Michael, the shoes are pristine white. So those shoes did not step foot in Deer Creek. Quester?
Yep, agreed. Nor did they slide down a muddy embankment.
Give me a second. I'm going to fill up my cup really quick. Take over.
Okay. Right, shall we do it again? Questions, anyone? Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. Not seen any questions yet. On this one. Did they ever test Derek German or Cody Patty? I'm not aware of them having doing that. It depends on what you mean by test.
Okay, I'm back. As far as testing, I am aware. I don't know about Cody, but I am aware that Derek German did give DNA. Now the question is, I mean, I have proof that there's a lot of people in this case that provided DNA. However, we just don't have a list of which of those individuals were actually tested against the DNA at the crime scene. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. And that would surely help a lot. If the state would really ever decide to be transparent, then that would be one of the first places to start. So all of these third-party suspects, we could just check off the list. But I do know that Derek German gave DNA. I know that there was
Well,
go ahead.
that's the thing with the DNA. They're saying it's there wasn't enough, but that's tosh. There's usually enough to be able to say that person isn't it. And if you did that and you could say he didn't, then it's a straight Sherlock Holmes. What you're left with must be true.
And for me, the biggest conundrum in this is, I think on the onset, law enforcement had their eyes set on a male, or only a male or males being involved in this crime. And there's a very good possibility that there were females involved in this crime. And there's a lot of indication that there are females who were on the trails who had nefarious connections. And, you know, there was the clump of hair. Let's start with that. The clump of hair found by the barrier at the north end of the bridge. Whatever happened with that clump of hair? I mean,
wasn't that the clump that they decided 77 matched with Libby or Abby? But there were 80 hairs. So 3 didn't.
I don't recall there being any kind of narrative behind the results of that clump of hair being found, as to whether it was tested, whether it was female. Nothing. I mean, there's a supplemental report that a tip was called in within days of the girls being found. It was a woman who was out on the trails with her 2 kids who came across described as a clump of hair. Law enforcement responded. They went out and located the clump of hair. From that point on, I'm not aware of anything coming from that. Which
it was the clump of 80 hairs, wasn't it? You're talking about.
The number 77 sounds familiar to me, and I can't imagine a clump of hair didn't include a root. A clump of hair to me means, you know, there was a cat fight and some hair was pulled. I don't know. But the fact that it never made its way into trial, the testing of that hair never made its way into trial.
I've got a document which talks about it. I'll see if I can drag it out and I'll send it to you.
That's perfect, because that's a huge red flag about the clump of hair. And when we talk about the Apple Health data and the distances between the south end of the bridge to the crime scene, those don't line up. However, some of the distances do line up with the girls being brought back across the bridge and taken down the wayward path heading towards the cemetery via next to the cemetery, Ron Logan's property. I just feel, you know, when you've got the amount of time that law enforcement has in this case, who are truly investigating and attempting to prove what happened, they are.
You're breaking up again.
Oh shit! Sorry. Move that now.
Gone completely.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're back.
Sorry. I don't, all of a sudden, this whole entire day I've had Wi-Fi issues, and I don't know if it's because of the storms, the rain, or what, but I apologize. But what I was saying is that there's been no transparency when it comes to the testing from the clump of hair, and we can go all the way back to February 13th or maybe even the 14th, where there was a pair of gloves found on the private drive going to Brad Weber's house. Though, I mean, we have a supplemental report that those gloves were collected, but we have no information about what was done with those gloves. Were those gloves examined? Was there DNA testing done on the gloves? That I find to be a major red flag, just like the clump of hair. And it's bizarre to me, all of these, let's list them out. The clump of hair, the belt that was found on the pathway to the creek, that according to law enforcement who found it, it size-wise matched Abby's waist, but Anna couldn't identify it for sure as being her belt. A flip phone that had wedding photographs that was located underneath the bridge. The phone that was found across the creek in the canal, I think it was west of the crime scene, that was turned in. We've never gotten any information about that at all. The gloves found on the private drive close to Brad Weber's property. Those 5 things have never been explained by law enforcement or the prosecution. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we are the peanut gallery as public citizens. We don't have a right to demand answers. However, in filings, in information that's been circulating, a law enforcement department who is up against the brick wall, like Carroll County was when it comes to this case, I think that they would want to be transparent and provide answers and exhaust all of the elements of this case that are left unanswered. Yet they've done the exact opposite. They have made us feel as though there's something to hide. And we are entitled to know the truth. So let's take a look at, we're going to watch this like 5 or 6 times. This is a slow motion rendition of the BG video. And a zoom in effect of what you see in the foreground at the north end of the bridge behind Abby and Bridge Guy. And I want you to pay close attention to where you would consider their feet to be and the person on the left. To me, the shadows change. To me, there's movement. And hold on a second. Let's play this. This is a frame by frame movement. This is frame by frame in slow motion. And if you notice, hypothetically, just entertain me for a minute. These are people in the foreground. The one thing that's undeniable is looking through their legs, you see bridge behind them. And it appears as if these two individuals are standing back there at the north end of the bridge having a conversation. I'm not saying that these people are suspects. In fact, I can kind of tell you who these people might be. Daniel Pearson, Shelby Hicks, David McCain. The imagery changes because there is movement in the foreground. And then that brings me to Quester's analysis of the video, which is this. The left-hand photo says this video frame shows the shapes are in the middle of the bridge, but here they are at a point halfway between the first bridge timber and platform 1. So you guys all know where platform 1 is. We went over it yesterday on the video showing the approach of the barrier, passing the barrier, walking around the barrier, and continuing forward to the Monon High Bridge. Look at the difference between picture 1 and then picture 2. In this video frame, Abby was past platform 3. So the platform just behind her is platform 3. The yellow lines show that these, I'm sorry, I have to put my glasses on, show that these shapes are both at a position on the bridge where the base of the shapes are about level with the northern edge of the platform 3. And the shapes are in the middle of the bridge. That certainly precludes the shapes from being the northern barrier or trees. I agree, Quester.
Yep, they're far too far out onto the bridge. They're right up by the platforms in each of these. Trees don't grow there. That would have been over the river, over the creek.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is, it's certainly not the barrier, and it's certainly not a tree. It's not a bush, and it's moving.
Let me pull in your actual photograph of that, because I think let me see here. Give me 1 second. So this photograph here, you have aligned it with, pull it up. The bridge is approximately 11 feet wide.
Yeah, give or take a couple of inches.
So explain this photograph to those that are
Right.
listening.
Right. This still, I blew up to a size where I could get these shapes a little bit clearer. And looking at them even there on the big picture, they sure as heck look like people, don't they?
It always has to me. It has always appeared that it's people standing in the foreground. That doesn't, and to be honest, that doesn't mean that the people who are back at the north end of the bridge even see what's going on at the south end of the bridge, because I have been there myself. I have witnessed, standing at the north end of the bridge, people crossing. And I'm talking about even now that the bridge has been reinforced and the new platform has been built with the barrier that prevents you from going beyond the first platform. I was there. Cherie was there with me, and we watched people climb over that fence and get onto the bridge and continue forward to the south end of the bridge. And once they got so far, I could not see them. And
Yeah,
the reason this is important is because I can believe that someone at the north end of the bridge couldn't visually see what was going on at the south end of the bridge. But that doesn't mean they didn't hear.
Well, bear in mind that this one that we're looking at the moment, this is Abby at about platform 3. Now, BG is behind her, about at platform 2, possibly. Now, I'm certain that from where those people are standing, you can see anyone on platform 2 quite clearly.
So either these people had knowledge of what was about to happen.
Well, let's say they didn't. Say they're just innocent people standing at the end of, or partly on the bridge, and they saw this man crossing over, and they couldn't see past him, so they didn't see Abby. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
One, they come forward.
That's the question of the day.
They saw BG. One, they come forward.
And the other question of the day is if they weren't involved, if they weren't there as like I have always said, possibly as lookouts for something that was going to go down, that they were there to ensure went down and were acting as lookouts. If they weren't those things, then we are left to believe that these two girls were maneuvered off of the bridge, taken down the hill, and swept away without a peep. That to me indicates that who they were going with, they knew. It was a pre-planned engagement, which I believe that it was. I believe that the girls were on the trails that day with the anticipation of meeting someone. And wherever they were led to, they agreed to go. That's why there's no sound, there's no screams, there's no indicative fight that anyone recalls hearing. But then again, backing up, if the people that were on the bridge were sent there to be a lookout, and I'm sorry, but we have to stop pretending that this case is a normal case. We have to stop pretending that the Patty family is absolutely innocent and this happened to them and they had no knowledge of what Derek German was involved with. So if these people were sent there to be on the bridge as lookouts, would they report any real information to law enforcement?
And if you recall, Cheyenne said she saw two men standing there, didn't she, when she was on the bridge?
I'm not sure. Was that in her testimony or was that in a Facebook post that she made?
I think it was in a Facebook post she made. She saw those two, and then they left. One walked back up the trails and got seen, and it seems to fit with David McCain. The other one didn't walk up there, so presumably went towards the cemetery.
Well,
Dan McCain was in the cemetery, wasn't he?
Yes, Dave McCain, and I'm still I am still trying to track down. There's a photograph of Dan, not David, but Dan, on his bicycle that was supposedly captured on a trail cam that multiple people have told me that they have seen, but apparently, so these photographs were all uploaded into a Reddit post. And the group of people who ran this Reddit platform disbanded, and a lot of the photographs and a lot of the posts and information from early on in the case has been lost. But I've been told that there's a photograph of Dan McCain on his bicycle. And I do have a witness who says that they saw an individual in the cemetery on a bicycle. David McCain's own testimony says that he doesn't really remember what time he arrived, but he thought it was between 2 and 3. And when he arrived, he went straight to the Monon High Bridge, and he was on the bridge for approximately 30 minutes. That's alarming. That is alarming. And what even is more alarming is that David McCain did not go forward from Jump Street. He waited 4 to 5 days, lawyered up, and then approached law enforcement. And David McCain and Dan McCain also were totally in pursuit of acquiring what I showed you yesterday, not only the CPS building on County Road 300 to make it a welcome center and a bathroom, but they were also in pursuit of Ron Logan's property, the 40 acres that you dead into at the south end of the bridge. They were wanting to expand the trail system. They were wanting to encourage more visitors and make Delphi more of a tourist attraction than what it was. So the bottom, go ahead, Quester.
It's worth hitting the point of the height of these people, seeing as how there's so many people saying it's absolute rubbish, this idea. A lot of them are attacking. Remember the sketch that Diff Fungi did where she drew around these people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are attacking that, saying, "Oh, those people are over 10 foot tall," and that's what I've tried to explain to them, and I've seen others trying to explain to them. Fungi drew round those people. Therefore, what she drew was going to be larger than them, obviously. But obviously, some people can't work that out for themselves. So what I did on this picture that you got in front of them, you can see I've snipped out the people, and next to them, I snipped the bridge from left to right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now the bridge we know is 11 foot. I think it's 11'2" or something like that. Can't remember it exactly, but it's 11 foot ish. So this is some approximation. So I split it up to the 11 feet and placed that picture next to it to measure how tall those shapes exactly are. And as you can see from that little picture to the right on this, comes out approximately 6 foot. That could be 5'6". I don't know. It's a rough estimate, but you can see it is nowhere near this fantasy 10 foot. These people are the right size for humans.
And if you take that analogy of those who are not in agreement with us about what we see here, and they're claiming that these individuals are 10 feet tall / the barrier. So are they insinuating that the barrier is then 10 feet tall?
Well, it's not. It's between about 3.5 foot, I'd say at the most, because people lean on it.
That's the actual footage of the barrier. But if you are to take these naysayers and apply their logic to what we're talking about, and they want us to believe that we're looking at the barrier, then they're insinuating that the imagery that we're seeing is 10 feet tall. And if it's the barrier, then the barrier would be 10 feet tall, which it is not, which we have proven. And at the end of the day, going back to 2017, with all of the people who witnessed this case in real time from that area, people who were posting online about seeing imagery on Libby's Snapchat, including Kelsey German herself, that she saw X pictures describing those pictures in detail that we've never seen. People who claim that there was Snapchat photos posted by Libby that disappeared. Well, the word disappear it runs rampant in this case, because we have a lot of things from the online community in the Delphi case that have disappeared. You can't disregard that information. And although it may not weigh of any value going forward, because I would not anticipate a defense team, if Rick Allen goes into post-conviction relief, I don't believe that there's going to be time or precedence that is worth their value to dig into shit like this. What we are doing is we are showing the public all of the things that are questionable in this case. And if any of it ever reaches a new defense team that's filing a post-conviction relief brief for Richard Allen, if any of the work that we've done makes its way onto that brief on paper, I will be grateful. In the meantime, this is the reality of the situation. We have questions upon questions left unanswered. We have a prosecution team who has, at every step of the way, played hide the ball. And at every turn that we have exposed their game of hide the ball, we have guilters completely and utterly swallowing it like a vitamin that they are advised by their doctor to take every day. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Let me see. So I think let's watch this a couple times. Oh, let me stop it. It's about here in the BG video that we pause it and we zoom in, where we feel that we see the individuals back at the north end of the bridge.
See, this is the path that we go down.
Who is she talking to? See, this is the path that we go down. Who is she talking to?
There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
So at this moment in time, Abby has stopped running. Libby's having a conversation with her. All while the BG guy is approaching. Digest the pause. What are they waiting for? Are they trapped? Is there someone? Well, we know that there's someone behind them coming off the bridge, but is there someone in front of them? Is there someone down the hill? Where once Abby runs past Libby, they feel trapped. To me, that's maybe a sentiment that you can actually pick up on just based on this video.
There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
Pause. Pause. Why aren't they going anywhere? If they are in fear for their safety, why aren't they going anywhere? Why don't they continue to walk? Why don't they go down the hill themselves? Why isn't she on the phone to 911? Why isn't she whipping her camera out in front of this man coming across the bridge and letting him know, you're on video, I'm calling the police, or you're on video, I'm calling my parents, grandparents, whatever the case may be? Why isn't any of that happening? This just raises major questions for me. Right there, you see Abby immediately turn to go.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
So where's there? There's no path going there. So we have to go down here. Well, we know that Ron Logan was a friend of Anna Williams. And I'm pretty sure that both girls knew where Ron Logan's property was. So if this was an encounter on the bridge with Ron Logan, and he's enticed them to go back to his property to see farm animals, visit with the rabbits, et cetera, and he's already told them, we're going to go back to come with me. I'll show you. You can come over to my house, play with the rabbits, visit with the farm animals, et cetera. There wouldn't be any conversation about there's no path here. We have to go down here. They would already know the direction that they needed to go. Right? So what are the plans?
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
So they sit there and they wait. That's very frustrating. What is blocking them from moving forward? And when Abby trots past Libby in this video, what is stopping them from continuing forward? Did the BG approach from the south end of the bridge and make a U-turn behind them? That's very possible. And again, I have to reiterate the timeline from, if we take verbatim everything the state has said, from the time the 2:05 and 10-second photo of the empty bridge picture was uploaded. Let's just pretend that photo was in real time taken. Then let's pretend that at 2:07, the photo of Abby was taken. That is like 2 minutes and 13 seconds that it takes for the girls to get from the north end of the bridge to the image that we see of Abby on the bridge, which is a little more than halfway. 2 minutes and 13 seconds. However, from the 2:07 photo until the start of the 2:13 p.m. bridge guy video, it's 6 minutes. So someone approaching them from the south end of the bridge, encountering them intentionally on the bridge, that's very believable. Because it took them 6 minutes to get from where Abby was at 2:07 until the start of the 2:13 video, and she still wasn't completely across the bridge at 2:13. So I have to believe there was some sort of a conversation. Girls, you're not allowed up here. This is private property. You have to get off the bridge. When we get up here, you're going to have to go down. Ron Logan, if it was Ron Logan, you like farm animals, you like rabbits, come on, come over. I'm going to invite you over to my place. You can visit with all the animals there. There's an astronomical amount of scenarios that could have played out. But the 6 minutes is not a theory, it's a fact. If you believe the 2:05 and 10-second empty bridge photo was taken by Libby, even though there was no photo upload, no file creation, no camera accessed, and what we've suggested is that it's possibly an image of the bridge that already resided in Libby's camera roll, and she chose to upload it, more so because she was out there doing something that she wasn't supposed to be doing, and she wanted her family to believe that she was where she said she was going to be. That's a hypothetical, not saying it's fact. That's up for debate. But if you believe the photo was taken of the empty bridge at 2:05 and 10 seconds, then you also have to believe that the 2:07 photograph of Abby that appears nowhere in any file on the phone was taken in real time. So from 2:07, and I believe it's 3 seconds, 2:07 and some change, to 2:13 is 6 minutes. What took Abby so long to get from the 2:07 photo to when the 2:13 video started? A conversation, a confrontation, someone telling the girls they weren't allowed to be on the bridge, they had to get off, someone who flashed a fake badge, a friend, someone they recognized. So what are we left with? Speculation. Because the state didn't provide us answers, the state didn't feel the need that we were entitled to an explanation for any of this. And in fact, they made this video that we're watching right now seem so egregious and so horrific and so terrifying that it took them almost 8 years to release to the public. Well, let me back up. The state didn't release this video. Andrew Baldwin did. Period, point blank. The state didn't want us to watch this. The state wants to make this as diabolical as they possibly can, just like the state wanted us to believe for years that this was a murder committed by a group of people and there were tentacles. And then when we got to trial, we were told, there's no tentacles. This is a lone wolf, one man shot, one man party. A man who has absolutely no history of being involved in any of the egregious, nefarious parts of society that you would expect to find a person who committed this crime to be involved with. No, we're going to pluck an innocent man off the street because he came forward as an honest citizen and told us that he was there. And we realized immediately that he wasn't involved. So we wrote on his tip sheet, cleared. And then when push came to shove and we had a sheriff's election where the shit was going to hit the fan and all was going to be exposed, and the bad handling of this highly profile case was going to be exposed, they needed a patsy. They needed someone to arrest to close the case. And not only did they do that, but they did it in a mad rush, handcuffed, booked the individual into a county jail under a fake name, arraigned him for a safekeeping hearing without his attorney that was on record that had been paid $5,000 to represent him. He then immediately was shipped off to a maximum security prison where hell fell upon him. Nothing to see here, folks.
See, this is the path that we go down.
Why did Abby stop? Why did Abby stop walking? You hear Libby say, it's almost like she visually sees someone in front of her. We're fucked.
Well, I don't know about that because there's no sign of stress in her voice even then.
No, I mean, it's the video itself just leaves questions that until we ever find out what truly happened, we're probably never going to get the answers to. So
there's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
Again, they're sitting there waiting for someone to tell them what to do. Why? When they have multiple escape routes? Or were they approached by someone that they thought had authority and was telling them, you're not allowed to be over here, you're not allowed to be on the bridge? Or were they approached by a friend? And I still, to this day, don't believe that Libby says hi when the man says, guys. I don't believe that she says hi. I believe she says, huh? Like, I don't know you, but huh? I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I still hear huh, not hi.
Hi.
And then from that moment on, the girls had to be told to wait. They had to be told, give me a minute. I got to find my unspent round here and put it in my pocket to nonetheless drop it at the crime scene, down the hill, across the private drive, down another hill, across the creek, up the embankment, and to the crime scene, just so I could drop it there. So you have to believe that. And that would explain the dub term magic bullet, because the bullet magically made its way from the south end of the bridge to the crime scene. But unlike any other case, the state gets to change their narrative to fit their narrative. Things have changed along the way, and we're just expected to digest it and go, oh, okay. So the bullet was found several inches from Libby's foot, yet you allowed Ron Logan's entire gun collection to be auctioned off after you were confronted with the fact that he was a suspect in the Delphi murders, and you felt the need to inform them, oh, no, go ahead, sell the gun collection, because we don't believe a gun was used in this crime. There's so much in this case that makes me sick. And that's all I got today. Quester?
No, I think you've covered just about all of it.
And I mean, I don't know how much more we can do on the BG video as far as the images that we see in the foreground, but it all aligns with, you know, I get sick and tired of guilters pretending that this is all a conspiracy theory created by the defense. And the fact of the matter is that the majority of the information that we have about this case literally came from the investigation by law enforcement that was turned over by the prosecutor's office as discovery to the defense. Yet guilters want to prop themselves up on, oh, this must be a defense conspiracy theory. No, if you think this is a conspiracy theory, then you need to ask your local prosecutor, aka Nick McClelland, because all of the information that the defense is running on came from the state. And if the defense wasn't under such a crunch of a timeline, and they didn't have a client who was being physically and mentally tortured in a maximum security prison before ever being tried, they would have probably been able to do a much more thorough job. On top of the fact that they were removed from the case, they had to deal with a judge who at every turn did the unthinkable and deny every motion, deny admittance of evidence, third-party suspects that literally not only had a nexus, but it all had fucking legs. She denied all that. As a defense team, when you are putting forth your best foot forward and you run into these brick walls, I don't know how you recover. And I think that might be part of what happened in this case. They couldn't recover. They had spent so much time attempting to fight the good fight, and it was the door was constantly being closed in their face at every turn. So until oral arguments in September, just look forward to more of the same. We're just going to keep rehashing all of the important facts of this case, all of the things that we feel need to stay relevant in the public's eyes. And at some point in time, I have to believe it makes a difference. Question? Anything before we go?
No, just the one thing. You probably haven't noticed in the chat. I've been chatting with Michael about the audio output at the south end of the bridge. I don't know if you remember, but when the video finished,
2 seconds later.
Yeah, we suddenly have an audio output on the phone. So what we've got is the girl standing there. They've just been grabbed and told to go down the hill. The video stopped, and suddenly Libby's phone is connecting to something to send audio out. How many things out there are there that she could have connected to send audio out? Headphones? What on earth would she be doing, connecting headphones to her phone while she's being kidnapped? What else is there? I think there's a question there as to what on earth was going on. As Michael pointed out in the chat, that audio output lasted for 5 minutes. That would have got them into the middle of the woods, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because
Or,
I mean, yeah,
or she was
because
busy listening to music on her headphones or something, was she?
yeah, I don't believe. I mean, yeah, but it also takes them into the 7-minute pause of movement if you are to believe the Apple Health data, and did Libby have headphones on? Was Libby trying to, I mean, anybody knows that if you
Well,
plug in
as Michael said, there's several things that it could be, and it could include a switch for a microphone. It could include Bluetooth. But these things, Cecil should have investigated properly. These questions should have been asked. Why was it doing that?
And and Bluetooth is a whole nother element that we've really not even dug into, because if there was a vehicle that was, for whatever reason, in the vicinity at the bottom of the hill that the girls were directed to go down, a vehicle that Libby had been in before and her iPhone was accustomed to connecting to, your Bluetooth account will do a lot of fun things. If you are in the vicinity of another Bluetooth connection, your phone's going to start the search. And I don't know if that would be indicative of showing a audio input, but if there was a vehicle, from the time the video stops, 2 seconds later, we don't know where Libby physically is on her pursuit down the hill. But if there was something in the area that her phone was accustomed to connecting to, that could play a part. Or if there was, this is also frustrating, because this is information that should have all been researched from back in 2017. Because where we are today, we are being expected to go back and explain technology and what was available and how things reacted in 2017. And it's very hard to do. We can take today's, go ahead.
We have the phone doing something right after the video. And it was doing that for 5 minutes. That covers when they're supposed to have gone down the hill, across the drive and into the woods. Now, that's an incredibly important time. This should have been delved into and answered. What was the phone doing? If it's something innocent, then say it. If it was connecting to someone else's phone, whose phone? All this is, well, it is bad that it's not got an answer. The phone was doing something.
And I think if Eldred would have been given the opportunity to say more, and the defense team would have prompted her on direct examination as a defense witness, to explain herself, to explain beyond it's a conundrum, because I feel that all of the interviews that she has done, Eldred has done since the trial, she has alluded to that there was more movement on the phone. There was more things that she could have said, but she wasn't asked. And that's very freaking frustrating at this moment in time. And she was a bipartisan witness. She didn't work for the state. She was hired by the defense, but all of the witnesses that the state provided, as far as the phone data, the video, the crime scene reenactment, Cicero, the blood expert, they all worked for the Indiana. So their job was to support the state's narrative. Sarah Eldridge was someone who was hired to do an examination and give her opinion. And
the data that states an audit output does provide a number also to state what the output is. And as Michael said, there is a number, and I think those go up to 6, and then there's an 8. A 0 or an 8 is a unknown. Michael says he is assuming Eldridge found a 1 associated with it, which would mean a headphone. To be honest, that would seem the most likely one out there, since there's nothing else out there. But if there is a 1 with it, why isn't it in the data? Why is there no numbers with any of the audio outputs? Why have they been removed?
There's a lot of things that were removed in the phone data. There are a lot of things that show up in one report that don't show up in another. And unfortunately for the state, their work is being scrutinized. But I think that Stacey Eldridge has a lot more to offer to this case than she was able to put forth on the stand. And I'm hoping that eventually, because she's familiar with the case and she's done the work that she's done already, I'm hoping that she will be reintroduced and be allowed to say more. That's all we can hope for. So that's all I got. Quester, anything else before we go?
No, I think that's all we've got at the moment.
It is. This was a good last minute live. I'm so glad you reached out and we made it happen.
Well, hopefully it will shut some of those rages up about this. Oh no, these people, this isn't people, or they're 10 foot high. It probably won't shut them up because you know what they're like. But at least we can prove those are people, and no, they're not 10 foot tall.
Right, but there's I don't think anything will shut them up. They're gonna die on that hill of ridiculousness. Period. All right, guys. Until next time. Thanks for joining us. Glad you guys could be here. Enjoy your Sunday. I'm going to finish doing the work here around the house. Quester, you enjoy your Sunday over there across the pond. Well, your Sunday's almost over. It's late night for you. Or getting
just gone 8:30 in the evening.
Yep. Yes. So enjoy. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.